Hello everyone, this is Sibel Edmonds. I know I have been away for quite a while. You haven't heard from me for 2 to 3 months. No videos, no articles, and I know that has led to all sorts of speculations, hypotheses, claims. I just wanted to do this video as an update, but also to let you know that I will not be working as a journalist or analyst. I won't be preparing any videos for at least 9 months to a year, and there is a question mark for the time period after that. This is a really difficult video for me to record because I'm used to sitting here talking to you about geopolitics, about politics, about activism, about important blacked out news. But for this video, hopefully it will be, it would make sense to all of you. I'm going to start with a personal part. Now, some of you may know from my previous videos what I had mentioned in the past. My husband, we have been married for 30 years, and he was diagnosed with ALS. Another name for this terminal disease is a type of a neuropathy, is Lou Gehrig's disease. And there are different types of ALS. Some of them progress in a very slow, over 5-10 years period before it is completely terminal, and there are other types that are more rapid progressing types of ALS. My husband's ALS is the latter one, and in the past year and a half, two, since diagnosis, he has become disabled. He is on wheelchair. And with this disease also, basically your nerves, the function of your nerves start dying in different parts of your body. And that includes your vocal cords. He has lost 60-70% of his speech. The ability to swallow food. He has made sure that everyone knows that he refuses to have, and he will not have feeding tube. And so we have been managing with soft food because of the difficulty or making it impossible to swallow food. And with COVID, as you know, I pulled my daughter. She just turned 13. Out of school system, and she is being homeschooled. It's a hybrid homeschooling program, meaning part of it is at home and part of it is in this incredible place that does not have any indoctrination practices, with excellent educators, real educators, not indoctrinators. And so she's been home most of the time with us during this difficult time. My husband has been under hospice care since March this year, and he's at home, but we have hospice nurses and physicians visiting our house several times a week to help with the caring. So that basically sums up why I have been away and why I will be away for at least the next 9 months to a year, because that's the time period they have given us before my husband dies. Those of you who've known me for a long time, you know that I don't sugarcoat things, no matter how difficult or hard or sad the subject matter is. I try to tackle things on factual basis and address them as such. The reason I'm qualifying this sabbatical as maybe permanent, maybe short term, 1 year or so is because I don't know. I really don't know. And the reason it's important for me to share this with you has to do with my subscribers, our subscribers, both with my NewsBud, our media organization we set up several years ago, based on paywall and subscription, but also for the more recent channel I put together. It's been about a year and a half under Patreon, and we have subscribers there as well. And I know I should have done this earlier, and I apologize for being out of touch due to going through a very difficult period. It was something that I kept procrastinating. Now I was thinking of conveying all this via a newsletter to my subscribers, only to our subscribers, our community members. But it just didn't sit right. It didn't feel right. And I'm still going to do that because I'm sure many of our community members will not see this video either because they have stopped going to the website, or because, as you know, YouTube has been blacking out my channel for the past 3-4 years. So I will be sending all our subscribers a newsletter explaining this in a shorter format as well. But I made a decision today that I needed to do this, and I needed to do this today and be able to look you in the eyes through the camera lens, and also be able to talk about this, because it's been very difficult to open up and talk about what it means, how it feels, etc., etc. For some people, opening up to others or seeking things like group therapy, etc., support groups help. For some of us, those things don't. And again, I guess I fall into that category. I have been a very private person all my life. As a family, we have been extremely, extremely private. And but with that said, there are so many of you who have been my support groups for years through real difficult times. And some of you I consider good friends. Some of you are closer to me than even some of my family members. So I guess all these reasons coming together gave me this, I don't want to call it courage, but determination to sit before the camera and connect with you in person. I have been known as a confident person when it comes to work, when it comes to politics, talking about geopolitics, providing analysis. Before that, going into meetings through my organization, National Security Whistleblowers Coalition, and whether it is to meet and work with various law firms and attorneys, or walk the halls of Congress, those things, I'm not saying those things are easy piece of cake, but I didn't have really hard time doing it. And I have given the impression of being someone really confident. However, I am not when it comes to issues, personal matters, and especially difficult personal times like this. This is something I'm not used to do. And I really appreciate you being understanding. If I repeat myself, or I stutter, or if maybe some of my conversation here today sounds like babbling, because as I said, I haven't done this before, and I hope I won't ever have to do this again. So why do I want to first tackle the issue, the topic of subscribers, is because I haven't been producing any videos, any articles. I haven't written anything, any analysis for about 3 months. And many of you, my great subscribers community, my activist community, irate minority members, I need to take a pause. Many of you have remained as my subscribers. I'm thankful, but I don't think it's fair. It's not fair. And I'm giving you this notice, this heads up, so that you would unsubscribe and not waste your money, because there won't be any videos or articles coming. And I don't know what I'm going to be doing a year from now. I haven't decided on that. It's a decision that my daughter and I will make together, and we are not at that point to make the decision. So I'm asking you, if you have watched, if you have listened to the podcast, the videos, there are thousands of them over a period of 13, 14 years, to unsubscribe and maybe channel that money and your generous subscription contributions to other venues who are active and they are engaged in real journalism or analysis or activism. We have never needed activism as much as we need today. And some of you may ask, well, why don't you go and cancel it all automatically from your end? And I want to explain that as well. The reason I haven't canceled it, number one, is there's so much material there, and the website is going to remain where it is. It's going to be there without anything new being published. However, so many of you have told me through this in the past 1 or 2 years that there's so much archived material that you haven't even tapped into. You haven't had the time. Thousands and thousands of hours of podcasts and videos, not only mine, but also other team members we have had at NewsBud, Professor Kovacevic, Peter Lee, Pi Ian, so many videos, and so many podcast programs before that I had produced together with Peter B. Collins. Many of these are timeless. And what do I mean by that? Most of the work we did, most of the work I did throughout this 14, 15 years with Boiling Frogs Post, which later became morphed into NewsBud, they are timeless macro issues. Whether we are talking about civil liberties, whether we are talking about government whistleblowers, whether we are talking about censorship, co-opted media, geopolitics of Central Asia, Caucasus, they haven't been based on, hey, here it is, here's the latest news or latest gossip or the latest scandal, and we go and talk about it for a few weeks, and then the new scandal comes, and then we'll go chase that. I made sure that we didn't practice that style of whatever you want to call it, journalism. Ours always been, my content always been macro issues, timeless issues. The issue of censorship, police state practices, pseudo-terrorism, false flags, synthetic terrorism, all those cases, all those topics, all those issues, they are as valid today, maybe even more so than they were when we produced them, when I wrote about them. And those of you who have said, I don't want you to cancel my subscription, make sure you don't cancel mine, because when I find time, I go back and I listen to some of your podcasts talking about this or that, or other producers we have had, and so don't cancel. I'll cancel it when I feel like it. When I feel like I have listened to most of the things or watched most of the things that I wanted to watch. That's why it's difficult to just go ahead and cancel the subscription and then say, okay, it's gone. That's why I want to ask you, I want to give you that chance, that opportunity to decide and say, I have gone through the things I have wanted to, and I don't have any more use for this website or for this material, so I cancel. And in the description part of this video at NewsBud, also at Patreon, also YouTube, I hate even saying that word, I will provide you with the steps. It's very simple. It's self-explanatory to cancel your subscription. How do you go about doing that? Whether you have annual subscription or monthly subscription. And I apologize for not letting you know about this earlier. You know, people talk about the stages of grief. It's very similar with terminal diseases and situations like this, because it's an ongoing grieving process. It's like a prolonged grieving process. And throughout this process, you go through the denial phase and the anger phase, and maybe the phase where you say, I don't want to do anything. I just want to go and curl up and just be left alone. So you go through various stages. Sometimes you go through those stages simultaneously. Of course, in our case, things are much harder because my daughter just turned 13. So we have, let me put it this way, those of you mothers, and I'm sure fathers as well, you understand when you end up worrying or feeling the sadness or whatever you're feeling far more so because of your child or for your child than you do for yourself. So it's the case here. It has been for us. So again, apologies for not posting this earlier. Please cancel your subscription if you no longer have the need, if you don't have the use. The only thing I am not turning off, I'm not putting aside during this difficult period is my Florida organization that we just set up about 7 months ago in January of last December, January. Florida Unites Against Mandated Insanity. I can't afford putting that aside. We can't afford stop that organization and related activism. I'm not talking about we can't afford money-wise. There is no money involved in FWAMI. And I will put the link for those of you who have maybe missed this organization we set up here in Florida. Self-explanatory, obviously. How could you stop that? From now we are more than a year and a half into this insanity, designed, purposefully put in place, scripted, with very well defined objectives that they're accomplishing. Pandemic. It's not only about masks, mandatory masks. It's not only about distancing and being locked down. It's not only about vaccination, if that's what you want to call this jab, mandatory jab, that is becoming mandatory. It's already mandatory in many places in the US. It is 100% mandatory with vaccination passport in many countries already. And yes, it's been 1.5 years. It's not going anywhere. It's going to morph. It's going to get into this ever-evolving scripted plan put in practice by the exact same people, by the exact same interests that brought to us, provided us with 9/11. I'm speaking with certainty because I am 100% certain about this. As in the past, as before, for me at least, the biggest outrage, or maybe disappointment would be a better word for it, has been people factor, the majority, big majority, not only here in the United States, but all over the world, because these types of dictators, and we have had them for hundreds and thousands of years, they will only give you these authoritarian police state practices, abuses. They would give people as much crap as they know people will be willing to take, or even begrudgingly take. So the level of wrongdoings, atrocities inflicted upon us, we the people, is 100% correlated with the amount we are willing to put up with, swallow. Well, I guess we all know that majority of people around the world, everywhere, have this very large, big capacity for taking abuse. It's a sad fact, but it's a fact nonetheless. This is why I'm saying that I'm not gonna rap Fwame. Now, granted, I'm in Naples, Florida. I am not able to travel. First of all, I won't get on the plane, even without the situation here at home with all the masks, etc., and all the nonsense. But I can travel at this point, and I can go to meetings, etc., once in a while. But Fwame is not about me, it's about Edmonds only. We already have 5 chapters, different parts of Florida, and we have incredible chapter organizers, people like us, people like my community, our community, for the past nearly 2 decades. We are the irate minority. We are determined. We are 100% determined to fight. I just mentioned, we are not sending our kids to these indoctrination camps. I just made that major decision, at least it was a major decision during this disastrous time for us, dealing with terminal illness, to start homeschooling. That was not an easy decision. I hear some people saying things like, oh, well, I can't afford homeschool my kids. It's going to be time consuming. I don't have the money. We are both working. Hey, we are too. And some of us have even more problems and more difficult times than those people where both parents are working full times. This is so important. This is the most important thing in my life. My child. Having children, at least for me, it's having these children being the most important, the number 1 priority in your life. Mine is, and I'm sure many of you feel the same way about your children. Sending our children to these fascist dictators, indoctrination camps, and the cost of that. I'm not talking about money. I'm not talking about money. I won't do that to my child. And I know there are millions of Americans who have made that choice, however difficult it may be. FWAMI will continue. I'm open here. You can always contact me by email. And our chapter organizers in Orlando, in the villages, in Fort Lauderdale, here in Naples with me, I'm going to fight it. About a month ago, I went to a school board meeting with a few other activists. I will put a link. Hopefully I will remember and put a link for you in the description part of this video. And I think we did great. I thought we did fantastic. And we won. It's a small victory. We won on the mask issue that both this summer and this coming September, Collier County School Board reversed their position and they said no mandatory mask and it's going to be optional. Now, granted, it's probably temporary, a temporary victory. You know, when victories like this case with Collier County come about, what happens is they come up with a souped up synthetic situation. In this case now we have the Delta variant, right? I don't want to get into all that, even though I have a lot to say. I have been reading a lot. I have been, as always, spending 2-3 hours a day, especially since I'm home most of the time, reading articles and for myself analyzing it both on domestic situation here in the United States but also international politics. Now we are looking more at a global politics of pandemic. And in my previous video, it's there on YouTube. Last time I checked, it was there. I told you pandemic, and then we are going to have global warming. Then we're going to have the epidemic of gun violence, gun-related violence, especially here in the United States mainly. Cyber warfare is coming. It's already here, but that video was produced 4 or 5 months ago. So they're going to put this souped up cyber warfare. Keep the fear alive. Keep that fear factor functioning. Taking away our critical thinking ability. Taking away our commonsensical, rational approach to life. You know, just like 9/11, terrorists, ISIS, Al-Qaeda, 9/11. It's like bubonic plague. We have this flu that has now morphed into the deadliest disease ever. It's a horrifying pandemic. It's going to wipe out the planet. Global warming, all the ice melting everywhere. Every single fire is because of that. Every single flood is because of that. Anything that we used to have now, it's because of global warming. Cyber, it's as long as they keep this fear with the majority alive, as long as with the mainstream media and the pseudo-alternative media outlets, they take away your own critical thinking ability and our common sense, our ability to judge fact from fiction, they're going to make it work for them. They're going to make for us lose everything. Every day we've been losing. We've been losing our dignity, our liberties, our basic human rights. And yet, I can hear the crickets. Can't you? I can't give up. on local activism. I will not give up on that. It's about my child as well. It's about our lives. Every aspect of it. It's not only one aspect. It's not something that you can say, you know what? So I won't travel, I won't get on the plane, and I will boycott it and be done with it. It's not that. It's everything. It's your employment. It's even going to market to get your basic necessities. It's your children and their school. They're saying they're going to come door to door, and they're going door to door. There will be other pressure methods, and I'm waiting for them. They are going to link our healthcare insurance to submitting to these mandatory jabs. Today is COVID and Delta. Tomorrow is going to be some other flus. Then they're going to make trio jabs. When they combine 3 jabs in one. You know how they did it with tetanus. It's no longer, you can't go and get tetanus shot. It's now 3 of them. You have to take all 3. Diphtheria as well. Who cares if diphtheria doesn't exist here in the Western world? You still have to take it. Somebody's making money, and some rulers are gaining more control over our body. See what happens? I just start talking and it morphs into activism and politics. FORME.org will remain because it's not me, there are other organizers, and together we are a community. And it's not a journalism website. Let's leave this and end this on a positive note, on some positive things, and that has to do with me and you, and those of you who've been with me for so many years, nearly 2 decades. I know it's not tangible in terms of pointing and saying like this or that, but I believe together we have accomplished a lot of things, more than just raising awareness. And together we have fought many fights together. And I'm just so grateful to my core community to make this last 2 decades journey of activism, politics, journalism, analysis, a joint journey. When we did it together, it was always us together. It was not me and a handful of people. There are so many of you I already know by name and by your voices. And by voices, what I mean is the way you think, the way you express yourself. I'm not able to respond to many of you who have been sending emails because I don't have that luxury of time, but I read every single email. Now, when I say, I don't know if a year from now, once my husband is dead and he has been given up to a year, I don't know if I'm gonna come back and pick up where I left off. And I just want to be honest, frank with you on that front. I don't know. I may want to start all over, something totally different, something new, especially being a single parent. And I'm not talking about fear or being so risk averse. I just want to be truthful to myself and be frank with myself. I may not be able to do this. I may want to start something vastly different than anything else I have ever done. Possible. I don't know yet. That's what it comes down to. I have no idea. I have no idea what path I will be taking, where I'm going to be. I don't know. I really don't know. And but one thing is for sure, it doesn't matter exactly what it is we are doing for our careers. We are who we are. And you and I, we are the irate minority. I have never been alarmist with you. I hope I haven't come across as an alarmist, because I see a lot of these people. And it has a market, you know, being so flamboyant but just factually speaking, this is it. This period where we are right now at this point, and the next few months, maybe up to a year, is going to determine the course of our state of freedom, liberties, human rights. I'm not saying we've had it. I'm not saying we have had a lot of it, but we have had it to a certain degree in some countries, more so than other countries. And it is incumbent upon us to fight, resist with everything we've got and more. The cost of not doing it, the price of not doing it. Let me put it this way, the price of not doing it translates into a way of life, a world where I don't want to really live in it. And I mean it. I am not, it's not a hyperbole. It's not exaggeration saying, oh, I don't want to. No, I wouldn't want to live in a world as a slave. I would rather give up life, give my life, than live in a world that they are already telling us how they envision it to be, what they want it to be. Well, that's not the world I want to be in. That's not the life I want to live. I hope it's never going to be the majority. It's never been the majority. It's always been the irate, minute minority. But I certainly hope that we have at least enough of those people within this irate minority circle who think like I do, and we together fight this until we either win or we are gone. That describes my position, my stand. I have lived in countries under despotism, under autocratic monarchies. I have been through coups. You know, many of you at least know my background. We are looking at far worse than I have ever seen. Yet, it's not hopeless. Hope comes with people and people's conviction, our conviction, our willpower, our determination. And the enemy, or the plural, let's make it plural, the enemies, they are not these unbeatable entities with absolute 100% advantage. They are not, far from it. It's us with the power. As long as this power is put into use with will and with conviction, there is no reason whatsoever, not even a chance, for us as the irate minority not to win. You're going to say, what action? Maybe it's not one action. There are dozens of actions. Just the action, the decision, and the action of taking your kids out of their indoctrination camps, these camps. it's a major blow, because their objectives depend upon these indoctrination camps. It depends upon the mainstream media being the gospel truth for all. When we start putting those aside, their media, their indoctrination camps, we are defeating them in steps. It's not like this one big battle that we go and we say, okay, you lost, we won. These accumulating, the combination, the total of these small victories is how we will defeat the enemy. But we don't have years, we have months. And I'm a realist, but I am still hopeful that we will put all this in action, and our will and conviction, us valuing liberties, dignity, will translate into action. Lots of talks. There's been so much talk. It's one of the reasons I stopped writing so many articles. Good ones too, really good ones. So many talk show personalities, some of them very good, with good intentions. But talk and words in writing, we've been doing that for so long, and especially this period since 9/11. I'm done with that part. As I said, I am taking the actions I can take, and I'm taking them. Some little, some not very little. And I'm hoping that you pair up your convictions with courage and put your values, what you value, liberties, put these values in action. Because I've said it, I've been saying it, together we can. Well, I don't want to end this in such a way that is like saying goodbye. I don't want to put it that way. As I said, fwami.org will be alive. Many of you know how to get in touch with me, and I will remain in touch with you. There are other things that I will be open to participate in. Let me know whether it's action, whether these are paths that hopefully, maybe, possibly will lead to actions, become actionable items. I'm here. No matter how limited right now my time and my situation being very limiting, I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. So I don't want to make this, okay, now, good night and good luck, goodbye. It's not a goodbye. It is letting you know where I am in life, letting you know that with NewsBud and Patreon, it's not likely that I will be having more videos for the next year or so, and give you that choice, information, and based on that, the choice to cancel your subscription if you wish, and we'll see what happens. I'm not going to only sit back and wait and see. It's not that kind of a see, but you know exactly what I mean. With that, remember this. Together, we can. united, will win with 100% certainty. Until then.